Okay, here we are. Hello, boys and girls. We're talking a little bit today about some of the books that were out when I got involved with the tarot back in 1970. And the reason this, I think, would be good to talk about these books, a lot of these books are still available today. And I think this was a groundbreaking time. With 1970 was the time of a lot of changes going on. And the tarot was one of them. It just sort of skyrocketed. And so it's getting back to basics, I think. And I think if you were to get some of these books, it would put you in a frame of mind of where we were, and which is really where we are now. It's our beginning of the whole thing. In today's thinking about the tarot. And it shows you how far we've come. So I thought it'd be good to go over some of these. And if you're into the tarot cards, a lot of these books you would just like to have. If you're a book collector, you'd like to have them on your bookshelf. Even if you don't read them. Because they're tarot classics. And the one book I think to start with would be Tarot of the Bohemians, which is this book here. This is a hardcover of this book. And this was written in 1880s by Dr. Cosset, pen name Pappas. And you can get this book in paperback as well. And really, the covers will be different in paperback. You won't recognize it from this. But Tarot of the Bohemians by Pappas is still a book you can get on Amazon and eBay. You might be able to find a hard copy of this on eBay. This one I think is written in 58. So it's kind of old. But it's very vague on what it's talking about. You won't read the book. You won't. You might read a few pages of it and think, well, no, as far as how to read tarot cards, it's more into the study of tarot with the metaphysical study of, it's a study of metaphysics with tarot cards. At least that's the gist I get from it. And back then, authors wrote with a very condescending attitude of things, and you were considered an initiate or a neophyte. It's another term. And their knowledge came from secret schools, which doesn't fly today. So I can't say, I'm a graduate in some way from a secret school, and so you got to believe what I'm telling you. Secret schools don't work today. So this book really, if it came out today, it would not get anywhere. I don't think it would anyway. To credit Pappas, he was a pioneer. He led the way, or they all did back then, and he didn't have much to work with. When you figure 1880s, this guy had to saddle a horse just to get to the library, where today we got Google. So things are a little different today. And the last chapter of the book is really the only one that goes into how to read tarot cards, how to do card readings. And it was written more as the parlor games for the women, because women didn't bother learning all this deep metaphysical knowledge. So it shows you we've really come a long way. But it's a classic. And you might want to get it. Tarot of the Bohemians. It just shows you how far we've come. And we have come a long way. Another book that's older is The Pictorial Key to the Tarot by Arthur Waite. This was written, I think, at 50. This version of it is 53, I think, and 59. And again, weight goes. This is a hard copy. You could get both of these books in paperback. They're not hard to find. The paperback version of this is a black cover, and so it won't look anything like this either. But I liked it because it had colored pictures of the cards on this version. This version is also of this printing was also in black and white color. The pictures were black and white. I've seen another copy of that. This one I have is in color, and it claims to be the first book on tarot cards that has colored pictures of the cards in it. And I thought that to be interesting. Seeing I was in graphic design, pre-press, and printing myself for 30 years. So I appreciate this. But again, his way of writing was very condescending. Doesn't really explain where he gets his sources from as much as today an author would. Very vague writing. Mysterious. But that was the way back then. But they're nice to have just to show you where we came from with the tarot. And this is all I had to work with basically back then. I didn't have much like we do today. So that makes a difference. But in 1970, that's when things really started to skyrocket. If anybody knows if you know about that time, if you know the music and the political strife that was going on, the Vietnam War and all that kind of thing, people were very involved with the spiritual side of life, and that's what I grew up with, and so this stuff was very interesting, and the paranormal was a big part of that, and obviously tarot cards. And in 1970, 2 books came out that I think really changed things. And 2 decks of cards came out too. The Rider-Waite tarot deck came out, and the 1JJ Swiss tarot deck came out too. Both by U.S. Games. This is actually I bought this deck, I think it's 1970, to be honest with you, this particular exact deck. But these two decks of cards came out, well, before that, all he really had was Tarot Marseille. And the Tarot Marseille is what I still use, mostly. I use the Waite, and I use the Swiss, and I use other decks too, but this is my deck that I like the Tarot Marseille, and I like it from Grimid too. But any Tarot Marseille is really good to me. And I've said before, I think that's the most authentic tarot deck still in circulation today. The decks that are out there now, though, are great decks. So if you got something else that's, I'm sure it's just as good as what I use. But these 2 books that came out, this book came out for this deck of cards, the 1JJ Swiss. And this book here is by Stuart Kaplan, founder of U.S. Games. And he put this deck back on the market in 1970. It's from the 1800s. And he wrote a book to go with the deck. And this is one of the first books where it was just clear cut, down and dirty. This is what the card means. This is how you do a card spread type of thing. Very easy to read. And so it was popular. The Rider-Waite deck came out the same year by Stuart Kaplan, U.S. Games again, 1970. And Eden Gray came out with the complete guide to the tarot that went along with the Rider deck. And I think this really helped this deck become what it is today. It really helped this deck take off, because this deck had pictures on every card, instead of pips, had pictures of every card doing things. Every card had pictures of people doing things in the deck that to describe what the card means. And Eden Gray went into those meanings of the cards very well. And again, it was another easy read book, very informative on how to read tarot cards. And this book is still out. They're both still out today. You find it on paperback a lot easier than you find a hardcover like this. But it's out there. Complete Guide to the Tarot by Eden Gray, 1970. And I think it really made the tarot, the Rider-Waite deck take off. Because now people can just read about how to do tarot cards. And I think this is where it all started, really, as far as the groundbreaking, the interest on the cards. But back then, when these books came out, they always implied in there that we don't understand why this works. This card reading stuff works. We don't understand that yet. And then the book is written based on the fact that we don't understand why it works. We have theories, but we don't understand why. And that's when I started writing books in 2012, because I feel I came up with the reason why it works. So now today it can be explained why. And I think it's pretty hard to deny once you see it. But anyway, this puts you it lets you know where your roots are coming from. If you buy books like this and just read through them and say, well, okay, this is what they were thinking back then. Another good book to get, I think this came out in the 1980s. Dust Jacket's all beat to hell, but it's Tarot, How to Read the Future by Fred Gettings. And this book I know you can still get on eBay too. This came out in the 80s, I think, 70s. 1973. And they just had different ways of thinking back then. And the cards were very mysterious, and we have a picture here of Madame Nicole. I don't know if you're going to see this or not, but they're showing her with the cards, looking at you with this card in her hand. That's a great shot. I can imagine doing. If I did cards like readings like that today, holding up a card with they would look at you like you're wackadoo. But back then, this was serious stuff with this type of thinking. It's still serious, but I mean, it's just looked at differently. So these are good old books just to look through and realize it gives you a better perspective on where we're at today, how we got there. And I think that's can be important. It can give you an edge on insight on what it is you're doing with these cards and why it works now. Will maybe make more sense too. One good book that I think is something that I still think is really valuable today is Young and the Tarot. And this is from 1980. Now, I don't have the dust jacket for this book anymore. But Young and the Tarot, An Archetypal Journey by Sally Nichols. And the dust jacket is a white dust jacket with the Fool card from the Tarot Marseille on it. But there's the title. And Wiser Books. put this out. And the reason this is such a good book is because what she's done is she's taken the major arcana and she does a whole chapter on each of the major arcana and how it could be identified or associated with things that from the past and the present. It's very good. And it's a good read. So that's a nice one to have on your shelf. This comes in paperback as well. Again, it's a white cover with the Fool on it. But I don't have the dust jacket anymore. I must have bought this book 6 times already. This is the only, I got them now. I just kept these books on my bookshelf. I don't really use them anymore. But I still like to look through them every now and then just to look and see where we're at, where we came from. So I think those books would be good books to look for. It might help you get some insight on the books that are out there today. Where they're coming from, and which is good stuff. I think the authors that are out there today are good authors, and they have a lot of information. And today we look into we're looking more into information. How do you do this? How does this? What are we doing here? And back then it was more a mysterious attitude toward things. But except for when 1970 came around with Eden Gray, Complete Guide to the Tarot, Stuart Kaplan's book really changed that. And I just think Young and the Tarot is just a good read. So some books to look into. I admit that there's a lot of newer books out there today that will show you a lot of good things about how to read tarot cards. These books will show you where we came from, our roots into this, and just an interesting idea. That's all. So I hope you like this, and we'll talk soon.